Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that'll have plots and ups and character bios for this issue. The Uncanny X-Men Annual Number 7 from 1983. We've got a cover by John Romita Jr. Does look like he inks it himself, um, so I have to tell you before we get started, this is a weird freaking story. Um, I don't think Claremont. I think he just was had to come up with something for the annual, and I think this is what he came up with. Some of these annuals are good, some of them are not. But for completion's sake, because I am covering the X-Men in reading order, we're going to go ahead and um, cover this. So, here we go. Not a bad cover. So, Michael Golden is the penciler, but there's a whole bunch of different inkers, and we'll get to that at the very, very end. Chris Claremont is the writer, and Michael Golden is the penciler. Michael Golden does ink the first two pages, but then after that, he gets help here. So, all right, so we start off with the X-Men playing a game of baseball here. And so, this is pretty cool here. And Xavier's still in the wheelchair, kind of back and forth. Storm has gone to the Mohawk. I do have a playlist I cover, as I mentioned. I got several playlists, but I have an X-Men playlist which just covers the X-Men. I have an X-Universe playlist which covers everything, all of it in reading order. So it's X-Men, New Mutants, Wolverine, specials, Marvel Fanfares in there, the Wolverine Limited Series. I also have a New Mutants playlist, so feel free to check it out here. So, Leander's like, I shall miss this when I leave, Charles. So she's actually, uh, they came back for the wedding of Scott Summers and Madeline Pryor. So because she's going back to get her empire back here. And so Xavier says, there's a simple solution. She goes, yes, you and the X-Men come with me to Shi'ar. And of course, he keeps saying no because, he's mentions he's got responsibilities here. Um, so you can see Colossus bat hits a home run here, and it just sends it into orbit here. And Nightcrawler's like, I think I'll let that go. Yeah. Me too. All right. And Wolverine's like, congrats, Petey. You put another ball in orbit. They're like, here it comes. But turns out it's not here. And they're like, huh? The trajectory's all wrong. And then Lilander's like, that's no ball. It's a ship. And she takes all the X-Men out of the way. And you can see here this ship kind of, and from here on, it's inked every couple pages, and it's inked by everyone else here. And it says the ship here is putting itself together, and it says a moment later. And of course, we've got Galactus here. Now he is green and purple, and if you saw the cover, it's a dead giveaway because the covers would sort of give you some of that stuff. So then when they show up, it's not really a surprise here, but. Galactus here says, greetings, Earthlings, I come in peace. And it's a nice splash page here. So, and of course, look at Lilandra. Galactus, he's the enemy of all that lives, a being who consumes living planets for food and crushes utterly any who dare stop him. Even your powers, X-Men, are nothing compared to his. And I like this panel here. Yet he said he came in peace, Landa. Perhaps a mind probe will yield some idea of his intention. And he says, odd. Galactus registers as a psychic null. Almost as if he doesn't exist. But wait, I sense another presence. I'll attempt contact. And suddenly, boom, and Lilander calls out for him here. And so Nightcrawler goes and checks on him here. Um, he's in deep shock. In his condition, I'd best not risk porting him to the infirmary. Landra, give me a hand. And Wolverine says, at least Charlie got the answers he needed. And we shall proceed accordingly, my friend, says Storm as she starts to create a tempest here. And Galactus says, wow, this is neat. She created a storm out of nowhere. I've never seen any human do that before. And then he says, have care, mortals. The harm that befell your professor was unintentional. He will quickly recover, but Galactus will not permit no one to assault his person or stay him from his course. I require the use of your domicile. For your own safety, I suggest you remove yourselves from the premise and not attempt to deter me, he says. So, and she's like, this is our home, Galactus. We shall not give it up without a fight. Not, why do you need... Again, sometimes these annuals are, they're a quick story. And so they're not always good, or it has to resolve within the confines of it. Normally it's like a double-sized issue. So, all right. So Lilandra's still like, no, you guys can't stop him. And Rogue's like, maybe so, Your Majesty. We won't know till we give it our best shot here. And Galactus says, you were warned, Nats. And suddenly here's this big bright thing here. And the mansion's gone here. Sucker was as good as his word. I'll give him that. He wanted the house and he took it. And Wolverine says, so what do we do now? And Storm says, we go get it back. So, all right, chapter 2. So this is broken up into different chapters here. So, all right. And I like the coloring here that was used here. So, and so Rogue says, Storm, Professor, are you all absolutely sure we should be doing this? And Wolverine says, are you scared? And she's like, yeah, you betcha. And so, with good reason, X-Men, we face possibly the most formidable antagonist of our lives. Fortunately, his mind is so unique and alien that my own telepathic powers can easily pinpoint his location. Did nobody even question why he's a green and purple? I mean, I understand that sometimes, again, with these annuals, you just... I don't know. Am I making too much of a deal? Do you guys think? I always say it's comics, let's not overthink it. But sometimes I'm like, well, all right. Take care, Professor. Remember the consequences of your initial psi probe. And so the Xavier says, we are almost totally ignorant of our foe, Storm. Since we cannot match his raw power, knowledge and cunning must be our keys to defeating him. And so Xavier says, Storm says, Lilandra briefed us on Galactus. And Xavier says, but is that who we're after? Galactus consumed worlds. What need has he for a house, even ours? And see where the sonic trail is leading us? And they're like, Wolverine's like, Shield's helicarriers. He's somewhere on board, yet how could such a huge being fit on a ship built for human beings? And so Nightcrawler, you and Kitty do reconnaissance. I hate that word. It shows up in Secret Wars number 6. Reconnoiter. Huh, interesting. All right. So here goes Kitty Pryde and Wolverine, and it looks like Loki's going along too here. So I like Michael Golden's cartoony style. He's a big influence on Todd McFarlane. Although please don't judge it by these other panels. Again, he only inks himself in the first 2 pages. So all right, here we have Nick Fury and Contessa Valentina Allegro de Fontaine. And she's played by the lady from Seinfeld. I forgot her name, Christine from Seinfeld, whatever the actress's name is. I could end IMDb it, but you end IMDb it. Whoever, I forgot her name, but her. And of course, they just you can tell that they just had sex, but Marvel Comics being code approved, they don't really show them having sex. They show the aftermath, which actually I think is pretty cool here. And so here they are, and again the music, the drinking, the whole. You can. I don't mind this. I actually love this stuff. You don't always have to show it. I don't mind, but um, Kitty comes through, and all of a sudden you hear a pop, and she freaks out when the Impossible Man kind of goes, "Whoa." Um, so was that Nick Fury? That Nope. All right. So when she comes in, um, Impossible Man says, "No, I won't let you stop me. Too much at stake here." And so you see like a blown up. Nicholas, look out! Something's blasting through the window, and it's of course the dragon here. Loki, you dummy! What have you done? The crook's getting away. And so the wooden Indian. How much did? Oh my gosh! Is someone's apartment? That man, that woman, what have I done? And so Nick Fury is like, before I lose my temper, young lady, I want an explanation. Make it real fast and real good. And she's like, oh, geez, I'm sorry. I didn't realize, never realized. Nightcrawler, help. So, all right. And so here comes everybody else. Um, and Nightcrawler grabs her and he says, Storm will not be pleased. Forgive the intrusion. I'd explain if I could, but I fear you'd never believe me. And so off they go with all the guns pointed at them. That's actually pretty cool. And she's like, I'm so embarrassed I could die. So, and Dum Dum Dugan says, if you don't mind me asking, Nick, and the Contessa says, Nicholas, your eye patch, it's gone. So the Impossible Man took the mansion and now took Nick Fury's eye patch. So, all right, the third chapter, we are in the Savage Land. Michael Golden did 2 issues of Marvel Fanfare that took place in the Savage Land here. Check them out. They're in that X Universe playlist. You can see this T-Rex eating the Pteranodon here. And so, Kitty's like, wow, the Savage Land is everything you guys said it was. You probably feel right at home, huh, Loki? And so Wolverine says, you sure we're in the right place, Charlie? And he telepathically says, our quarry is making no efforts to hide his trail, Wolverine, almost as if he wants us to follow him. So, none of this makes any flaming sense. What could he be after here? Heads up, troops, movement in the trees. 2 people moving fast and closing in. And Yolanda takes off her energy sword because after Star Wars, everybody has an energy sword now. And Wolverine pops his claws here. And here comes Kazar and Shanna. So Shanna doesn't know who they are, and Kazar says, these are the X-Men. And so it looks like his tiger has been kidnapped here. And he tells him Zabu's been taken. And Colossus says, actually, Kazar, we're looking for our house, which seems to be in a similar predicament. And Rogue says, this is going to sound real loony, but a guy who got no idea, but while I got no idea who's doing it, I think I may have figured out why. The creep steals our mansion, Colonel Fury's eye patch, and now Lord Kazar's pet. You bet it's a scavenger hunt. And they're like, that is the silliest thing I've ever heard. You got a better idea? And they're like, and she's like, Professor, any comments? And Professor Xavier says, Rogue's theory is intriguing, Storm. Unfortunately, it brings us no closer to identifying our quarry and putting an end to his rampage. X-Men, he is on the move again, heading due north. Well, of course it's due north because, hey, the Savage Land is in Antarctica, so nowhere to go but north. So we're now in New York City. And so we are in Avengers Mansion here. Jarvis notices the Fantastic car with clutter on it. And She-Hulk, it's stolen property, I'll bet. and she recognizes Rogue and Colossus. Um, and so at this time they thought Rogue was part of the Brotherhood, and Jarvis is like, why would she be with them? And so she thinks now Colossus or maybe the X Men switch sides. So She Hulk is gonna go get him here. And so they're not even looking here, and She Hulk's coming from behind here. Um, and Colossus like, what need has he for women's costume? What need have the Avengers for so many costumes? They do switch a lot. So again, here comes She Hulk here. Um, and so it looks like the Impossible Man has taken more stuff here, and She Hulk grabs Rogue and then throws her toward the ground. And now she's going to get um, Colossus, and she's like, "One crook down, one to go." And he's like, "You're mistaken. We're not criminals. We seek to catch one." And she's like, "Give me a break, Shorty. I didn't believe that line." And he grabs her and pushes her away, and suddenly Iron Man hits him here. Um, and Iron Man says, "Excuse me, fella, but didn't your mother teach you to be polite to ladies, even mean green ones?" And so Iron Man may not be an active Avenger anymore, but I'm not going to fly by and let one of them get trashed. So we are now in I almost said Doctor Doom, Doctor Strange's home here, and he's in his Sanctum Sanctorum here, and he pauses, and suddenly from here, I love this, by the hoary host of Hoggoth, and here come all these things released from his house, and oh, went the other way, and they're like, "What the heck is that?" Beats me, She-Hulk, and I'd rather not find out. No false moves, pal, or you'll get another dose of my repulsor rays. And Colossus, if you will allow me to explain. A wasted effort, Colossus. These jerks never listen. Rogue, you're conscious. Surprise. Not only can I take a punch, but I can give as good as it gets. And so she touches She-Hulk, which of course takes her powers. And you can see now that she's grown. Of course, Iron Man's like, she's added She-Hulk's strength to her own. Rogue will be pretty near unbeatable. The transformation isn't complete though. Maybe a repulsor blast can still knock her out. So, of course, it does not here. And then Colossus grabs him and hurls him to the ground here. And Kitty Pryde says, "What are you doing while you're fighting um, the Phantom Burglar's hitting his next target?" And Iron Man's like, "Oh my god, this kid's like a ghost." So they leave, and then she apologizes to Iron Man and says, "Sorry, gotta run." So, all right. And so, look at Jarvis here. And so Jarvis says he's called the other Avengers, but Iron Man says that probably won't be necessary, and they're gonna take Rogue to the medicine thing. They said use the data from the Avengers' last encounter with Rogue, which was in Avengers Annual Number 7, which was Rogue's first appearance here. So, all right. Jarvis says, "I can't believe the X-Men are villains," and Iron Man is like, "I think we all jumped to the wrong conclusion here." So, and so at this time, by the way, Jim's Rhodes here, and this is what it's telling me, and I should have mentioned it. Jim Rhodes is Iron Man during this time. So, all right. So, it says here a few minutes later, a few blocks down Fifth Avenue, and then they're like, "Coast is clear," and here comes both Rogue and Colossus here. So, I'm gonna see if I can just kind of wrap this up here as quick as possible, because really there is not a lot of substance to this annual here. So with the X-Men went to the Hellfire Club, here is the White Queen here. And so I'll read this part here. After we captured Mastermind, Professor Xavier learned that Miss Frost had been one of his first victims. He must have created the worst illusion to put her in such a state. I know she's a villain, a leader in the Hellfire Club, but isn't there anything we can do, says Kitty Pryde. And of course, Storm is like, the professor offered help, but it was refused. But to my mind, kitten, it is no less than she deserves. And Kitty's just surprised. She's like, oh, man, that sounds like something Wolverine would say. And then Wolverine thinks here, Storm's changed more than just cosmetic. She's getting wilder, tougher, and walking his and Yukio's road. I wish I could be sure that that's right for her. And so Wolverine notices these flowers. Of course, you see that they're green and purple. And he pops his claws up. Turns out it's the Impossible Man. But at the same time, here comes Sebastian Shaw. He can't believe the X-Men are there. And she's still with She-Hulk's thing. She's going to go attack him. You see the Impossible Man right here. They tell her to wait because, of course, if the harder you hit him, the more stronger he gets because he absorbs kinetic energy. So she hits him really hard. So then he ends up become here. He explains his powers. And so basically what I told you. Here comes Nightcrawler, who is hitting him and teleporting to avoid him being, hit here. And you can see the Impossible Man doing Impossible Man stuff here. We're just kind of moving on here. You can see finally Shaw does hit him, and the Impossible Man gets away. And so Storm, of course, is really pissed, and she's like, flowers, guns, balloons, now a rocket. We're obviously up against a shape changer, and I think one who means us real harm. Although his antics may yet get us killed, it's almost as if we're playing a child's game. You can see Storm just creating this thing. And she makes a whirlwind and grabs all the X-Men and says, our mission has nothing to do with Sebastian Shaw or the Hellfire Club. We tried to catch a thief and failed for the last time. This madness has gone long enough, and I mean to see it ended. Old scores here must wait to be settled another day, and Sebastian says, the day will come, Wind Rider, and sooner than you think. You can count on it. So, not the last we've seen of the Hellfire Club. Now we're going to go, this part is penciled by Brett Blevins here. So these next few pages. And so, this is the old Marvel office. And he's like, I can't believe that they left. And then he sees here that they moved. And so he's going to go to the new stuff. Here they come in the Blackbird. And the Blackbird is being clothed with Shi'ar technology. And so Rogue says that her costume's been torn up. But they're not showing any tearing up here. And Colossus says, it's okay, you can't hurt me because I'm in my steel form. And Rogue says, hey, your steel is organic steel, so maybe she can hurt you. And I apologize, this is still Michael Golden. Brett Blevins is coming up, though. And Wolverine says, where's that alien bozo now, Charlie? I'm itching to get my hands on him. And Xavier here says, I do not wish him harm, Wolverine, no matter what the provocation. Easy for you to say, bub, that little creep owes me. Perhaps, but you will still do as I say. I had a brief contact at Madison Avenue, but he's moving downtown. Wherever he's going, Charlie, the people there sure got my sympathy. And so here we are at the Marvel offices, and this is Elliot R. Brown. This is Mark Renwold, rest in peace. And who the heck is this guy here? Anyway, here comes the Impossible Man with Zabu. And here come the X-Men. Again, I'm just sort of skipping this stuff. It is silly. I sometimes don't think that Chris's heart was in on this here. I think this is supposed to be Chris Claremont here. And then this is Larry Hama and Michael Golden, and here's the Impossible Man pretending to be Stan Lee, and Colossus and Wolverine here. As I said, I'm just moving along here because. So here's Brett Blevins here, Jim Shooter, and Michael Hobson, who was the president of publishing. He's passed away. And Jim Shooter is going to go out there because I guess the X Men are there, and then he gets ripped up. So back here now with the X Men here. So the X Men just want their stuff back. Again, it's a silly story here. Here's the Impossible Man, and we're gonna get to what this is all about in just a moment. Rogue does catch him, and you can see she touches him with her skin, and you just see this big zap here, and knocks her out. And the Impossible Man's like, "You attacked me. She hurt. It was no accident either. That was intentional. Boy, am I ever gonna make her regret it." So he seems to be immune. And Wolverine is like, "You want the lady, you go through me, bub." And he takes off his claws. And the Impossible Man is like, "If you insist, Earthling." And here comes everybody, and Kitty's like, "You'll find the X-Men will be ready for you." And he's like, "I'm not the bad guy," but he's of course acting like it. So and the Impossible Man says, "I didn't mean to hurt her. I don't want to hurt anyone. I only acted in self-defense." And he's like, "What's with all the games?" And of course he says, "Why, it's a scavenger hunt," which is essentially what Rogue had said. So, and she's like, "Who are you?" And he says, "I'm the Impossible Man, the sole survivor of the planet Pop Pup." God, that is so dumb. Oh, I'm sorry. I know comic books are supposed to be fun and funny and all that kind of stuff, but sometimes it just goes into the ridiculous. So, and as I always mention, not everything Chris Claremont writes is a home run. This annual is not. It's silly, but I mean, all right. So we apologize for breaking the Marvel offices, and here we go. So we're in the Gobi Desert, and here's where all their stuff is. And um, so what this all has been, and we're gonna get an explanation here. So I'll just read this part here. That's essentially gonna give you why he's been doing this. Some time ago, my mate and our family left the Earth to find a planet of our own to populate, since our hometown pop-up was eaten by Galactus. And you can see the two issues that this is referring to. The problem was we couldn't decide who should be in charge. Someone has to be in charge because all the superheroes I knew on Earth had a person who was boss. And I wanted to be family, and I wanted my family to be just like Earth people. I thought it should be me after all. I was father, and it's our and it's the father's job to look after his family. It's the 80s, so so all these costumes are supposed to be the Wasp. She's like, "How can a single woman own so many costumes here?" And so he says that everybody in the family wanted to be the boss, and that planet wasn't a problem because there was a group mind colony. So, but now everybody was individuals, and they keep going through, and you can see the pop up here. So everybody kind of voted for themselves. So then they came up with the idea to do the scavenger hunt, and so suddenly here, and you can see here, there he is, and you can see like an armada coming, and these people here pop you in. Your hour of judgment is at hand. And look at him, eek. And so we have followed this transgression across the galaxy, compiling a list of crimes against our various worlds and persons too numerous to mention. Suffice it to say, this one and his misbegotten progeny have wreaked untold havoc. We are not amused. So we shall have retribution from the accursed Popian and any fool enough to defend him. So, and they're like, "You're on your own." And Lilandra's like, we probably shouldn't. Even a minor skirmish such as these could lay waste to your world. However, if you allow me to mediate. Um, so Lilandra's gonna speak. She introduces herself, and they're like, "Hey, you really shouldn't do this." And the guy is like, "Yeah, we really want to." Here you say that he stole whatever this is, and that he means um, he needs to die. And they're like, "Was any of the property damaged?" No. And so she says, um, if he returns them, and promises never to do that again, will that satisfy the injured parties? And he says, "What of our pride? What of vengeance? You know full well what the Popians can do. Our pride and vengeance worth the war with them?" Look at this. Good point. We accept your terms. And so he's all sad because he had to return everything here. And we're at the end of the issue. This is Kitty and Magic. I forgot her name. But Colossus' sister. And you can see here, it turns into Tom Selleck was Magnum PI and Garfield. And that's all, folks. The ever loving end. And so that's really the end of the issue. Like I said, it's silly. And then, of course, the end scavenger hunt. And then, of course, here is the credits with Chris Claremont and Michael Golden, except Brett Blevins, who did the Marvel sequence. And then these are all the inkers. So, all right, X-Men Annual 7, Chris Claremont, Michael Golden, and all these people here. If I wasn't too into it, I do apologize. Like I said, it's not my favorite story, but I'm doing it just because, again, I'm trying to cover the X-Men in reading order. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening, even if you saw this and you go, "Oh my God, this is the worst thing I've ever seen." I apologize, but X-Men does get better. There's some really cool stuff. Again, check out the playlist. I got the Dark Phoenix saga, which is one of the greatest. I got Days of Futures Past. I've got a lot of stuff. The Wolverine limited series. So check it all out. Goodbye.